Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fashion Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith, and I'm here as always with Marcy Carmack. Marcy, I hope we do a good job today because I don't want to be called into the principal's office for misbehaving because this is our back to school special for some fall inspiration.
Okay, I hope not too, but you get a little racy sometimes.
Well, Marcy and I have been in summer school. Actually, we've been in school the entire time we've been on Fashion Coffee Hour because we've been working on our thesis, our senior thesis, this entire time. And our thesis at Fashion Coffee Hour is the idea that fashion brings beauty into the world. That's one of the ideas we got from one of our members. Is that fashion literally brings beauty into the world and into our daily living. And another member suggested that the avant-garde is very important. Wherever there is beauty and fashion in the avant-garde, there is culture. And wherever there is culture, we believe, and I think we observe on a daily basis, that people are elevated socially and economically and spiritually. So we're well on our way, Marcy, to our. I think we're going to get an A in this class when we finish. But we put together some inspiration for back to school theme, regardless of whether you're going to school or if you're just in the school of life. And I want to make sure I click all of our important clicks. But the thing we're starting with today is our little inspiration, and I'm using laughter, hopefully, from the film Heathers, which
We know Stanley is amused.
I love being amused.
I wanted to be a member of the most powerful clique in school.
Dear Diary, Heather said she teaches people real life.
You were nothing before you met me. You were a Girl Scout cookie.
Does it not bother you that everybody in this school thinks that you're a piranha?
Murder,
Give a shit.
and intrigue.
Heather number one just looked right at me.
Checks all the boxes.
All the
You were
boxes,
Heather?
and they even end up in church.
I'm a
So everybody
Veronica.
can have that covered.
I don't really like my friends.
I don't really like your friends either.
They're people I work with, and our job is being popular.
Maybe it's time to take a vacation.
That's sort of like Pulp Fiction.
I just
Very
killed
dramatic.
my best friend.
And your
It's a
worst
shame they
enemy.
ruined that beautiful
Same
table.
difference. My teen angst has a body count. This is a tragic thing.
Hallelujah.
We scare people into not being assholes. What did you say, dickhead?
I did not want them dead.
You did too.
Did not! Shut up!
I love my dead gay son.
You were out of control. Their life is filthy.
What do you think I'm gonna do with it? Take out her tonsils? Is this as good for you as it is for me?
Life can suck.
Thank you, Heathers. That was really very
Edifying.
Edifying. So that was our starting point today for back to school, was starting off with Heathers, and it's going to lead us into kind of a conversation about, as bad as 80s fashion was, it did incorporate a lot of American classics, and most notably what we call plaid in the United States.
Yes, we do. Ray, who is on Coffee Hour, is English and has worked for Burberry his entire career. He informed us that it is a check.
By
But
British standards, but it's in
Yes.
Britain, it's in
and
Burberry.
that's where we got all of our history, almost all our history. So anyway, Pendleton does great plaids.
They're in Oregon, right? And they're founded in the 1800s.
Yeah, an old American company.
And I think we read that they were blanket traders at some point.
Yes.
They're making blankets for trading with Native Americans.
Yeah, which was nice that they weren't yet taking their land.
Yeah, very
They were
interesting
giving them blankets.
history. But
And
actually,
then here,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Actually, I worked a little bit with the Pendleton people, and they have beautiful products. And of course, my father had Pendleton, his father had Pendleton. I had my grandfather's Pendletons. It's really
Pendleton scarves or
jackets and shirts and scarves. Quite a collection, but they last forever, and they are always a classic.
yeah. Nothing wrong with that. And then Hudson Bay is similar in that it's been around for a long time, but it's Canadian.
Yes. And they were
And
also in the blanket business.
yes, and that's what I think of them as. I think they started in blankets and branched out to fashion, but I like the old classic blanket in a lake house on the East Coast. It looks great.
And we read that their early history was also trading blankets that were traded for. Is it beaver pelts they were traded for? Is that what you read?
Sounds right.
Pelts, and that originally they would have one of these stripes. It would be either the green, the yellow, or the red, or the blue. But then later on, they've incorporated all of the stripes into the blanket. I was never really into this. I first saw this as a full-length men's coat at Marshall Field's men's store when the men's store was actually in the annex, which I'm sure for most people that's like considered BC in the timeline of fashion history here in Chicago. But I was never really into it. I recognized it immediately as a classic. It was just too much. It was just. I really have never quite come up with the words to articulate what it is, but it's something about it just didn't resonate with me. I just didn't. It never really my trigger. But it's in our collection of true American isms, and it could work in back to school or in a setting. Related to that, of course, these are Pendleton blankets with the Native American motif.
Mm-hmm. And a Ralph Lauren skirt on the right.
Yes, and this is actually a current skirt from fall this year.
He incorporates these kind of Western motifs a lot in his collection. He has a home in Montana, I think, one of the states out there. And
Yeah, when you mentioned that about the ranch, I immediately thought of Gabriella Hearst. She's somebody we looked at earlier in the year, and she has a ranch in Argentina. So can't go wrong having your own ranch. And obviously this next genre that I quizzed you on was this Nantucket Reds, which was foreign to me, is foreign to me, and if all goes well, it'll continue to be foreign to me. I'm not a big fan, but maybe you can explain to me what is going on with the Nantucket Reds.
the first time I saw them was when I was on Nantucket, and that's what they started. But I guess it originated from a Brittany pant that was fashioned from a sale. And so, they just became very popular on Nantucket. And then they went beyond Nantucket, but they still, conjure up a preppy look.
But someone brought them to the mainland because I saw them here in Chicago, at least 5 or more years ago, and I really didn't know where they came from or what was going on.
When you say mainland, you mean
Mainland.
Nantucket is not mainland, I guess.
Well,
it's
an island.
Yeah.
So
it's been on the mainland longer than 5 years.
Well, here in the Midwest, I didn't see it till more recently. But now, Marcy, you said you actually dated a pair of Nantucket Reds. What was that? What was that like?
I dated a guy from Richmond, Virginia, when I was living on Nantucket, and he wore them, and he looked adorable. I mean,
well, what I want to know is, can you put the man in the Nantucket Reds, or can you get the man out of the Nantucket Reds?
You know what I think it is? I mean, you probably never liked them, but they're meant to be worn outside of the city. They're meant to be worn on Nantucket or, playing golf. They're not meant to be
what
worn in the
happens
city.
in Nantucket should stay there, Marcy. They should have kept it there. So, well, luckily for us, I mean, as charming as these United States, U.S. American influences are, in the context of back to school, I most notably think of places like England and Oxford University, because I think Oxford, of course, is one of the oldest universities, along with the Sorbonne in Paris. And when I think of Oxford and everything English, I think of the 1981 film adaptation of Evelyn Waugh's Brideshead Revisited, which was a charming portrayal of Captain Charles Ryder and his love affair with the Flight family and their lovely home. So it's as much a story of love affair between people and love with architecture and beauty, yes, which is notable. And I found this great clip which pays homage to both those themes of family and architecture. I think everybody always likes English country style. It's always a driver, don't you think, Marcy?
Yes, I think it's been a driver here in the United States for sure. He's so young.
Well,
Stan,
thank
I
you.
have to ask you, what is the significance of the teddy bear?
Oh, it's just part of the character created by Evelyn Woe, and I think it's just supposed to show kind of a foppish kind of character and someone maybe who didn't arrested development. I think he was kind of, the character was stuck kind of in the adolescent phase. And I mean, Marcy, everyone's story has to evolve, whether we like it or not. And if you're not, don't allow time and learning to transform and transport you, you're kind of left behind. And some people don't always move ahead like they should, as his character didn't. But the best part of Brideshead Revisited and all things English is, of course, the inspiration we get in fashion, and most notably in American designer Ralph Lauren. And this is kind of indicative of some of his styling. This is more current. Marcy thinks this is maybe from a few years back because of the sweater over the shoulder, which
That was an 80s thing.
it was an 80s thing. And
And
Marcy,
especially, I mean, women still do that, but men don't typically do that anymore.
well, I was embarrassed to say, yeah, that was one of my most popular go-to looks. But I realized after Marcy pointed this out that yes, I've not worn this sweater over my shoulder, I mean, for years and years and years. But Marcy's right. That was a go-to look for a long time.
The colors look great. The plaid jacket and all the colors look great. And of course, she looks great in her camel.
Yes. And then other classics that we don't think about, we take for granted, but they are oftentimes staple.
Oxford cloth is a staple in a man's wardrobe. It was named after Oxford University. And then it was brought to the United States. And I think it became very popular because it was a little bit heavier than a Pima cotton shirt. And you wouldn't get very wrinkled in the summertime or any time. And it's just easier to care for than a cotton Pima or otherwise. And what else did I want to say? Just that this became a uniform for college people and professional.
Yeah, as I said, I've worn these over the years. I don't wear them currently, but I still have some. And the idea that they're a little stiff, a little heavy, especially right around the neck. It kind of bothers me, but they are very practical, Marcy. Especially the blue one. And I would consider this. I used to wear this as a work shirt. I mean, I never would have been I would have never been caught dead wearing this with a suit. I know people do, and it does look very nice. But it does. I think of this, especially the blue, as a work shirt. And as much as I like the blue and white stripe, it's I feel a little uncomfortable wearing it. But it is definitely
It's not your style, Stan.
not my style for some reason. I got to look at that. Between that and the Hudson Bay, got to figure out what's going on with my arrested development. But the another classic, which is I guess more English or British inspired, is the houndstooth
The
check.
houndstooth, is a classic pattern named for its resemblance of a dog's tooth. And it originated in Scotland, so it's a very, very old
It's classic. And I think
If it
we were
were
talking
print,
about
I don't know.
where we might have seen this. I think we think we might have seen it in Vivian Westwood, if not this year, at least previously. She's done designs inspired by this look. It's a classic. And related to that, of course, is the herringbone, which I think is probably less popular today, but still a classic.
Yeah, and the herringbone came from England, and it was named after its resemblance to fish, such as a herring.
Well, it's a good. I haven't had a herringbone for many years. Probably not since I was in college. Of course, I never had any houndstooth. So you have houndstooth in your
I do have
wardrobe?
houndstooth, but it doesn't go out of style.
Now, I worked for many years in visual merchandising at department stores in the Midwest, and every fall we'd get a fashion planning calendar, what the trends were going to be, and I was afraid I was going to embarrass myself when I shared this with Marcy, with the idea that every year it always seemed that the jewel tones, that was the big fashion news, is that jewel tones would be popular. And Marcy said, well, that's because that's true. Jewel tones almost always are a go-to staple in the fall season. So I got that answer correct on that quiz.
So we have a couple jewel tone looks. Yeah, I mean, back in the day, there were like sweaters or blouses with different actual jewels on them. And I prefer this kind of monochromatic. Well, it's not mono, it's solid pieces put together.
Well,
Like,
and we saw a lot of that in the Valentino show this fall.
That's right. And Paulo does that exquisitely. And the girl on the right is sort of jewel tones. The yellow is not quite deep enough to be a jewel, but
at the Valentino show, we did see a lot of yellow and pink and brown, which is kind of a takeoff on the jewel tone. But I explained to Marcy the reason I included this yellow and green is because I had a hard time finding jewel tones that didn't include purple. And Marcy informed me that purple is, she has a problem with purple. So I have a problem with the Hudson Bay coat. Marcy has a problem with purple.
But I have to qualify that, Stan. I like purple when it's solid and looks modern. I think of purple on a sort of Victorian inspired woman.
Well, yeah. Exactly.
It's not my style.
Well, that's a lead into the next obscure fashion inspiration I think of when I think of jewel tones and color. That's the film adaptation of The Crime of Miss Jean Brodie. This is with Maggie Smith. And what was interesting to me about this story, which I've known about for many years, in the wardrobing of the original stage play, the direction called that everyone in the cast be dressed, wardrobed in shades of gray or black. And the character of Miss Jean Brodie, her character was wardrobed as the only person wearing color in the entire cast in purple and lavender.
She was the star.
She was the star. She stood out as kind of the unusual counter heroine of everyone else in the drama. So I thought that was interesting perspective. But Marcy, I want to push back again on your purple, because you said you thought the woman that wears purple or lavenders, sets herself up as being odd, an odd character.
I'm not sure I use that word, but I feel as though she's not very modern. She's not a modern fashion person.
So purple, it's not a true or false, it's more of a multiple choice answer on that fashion quiz. But I did find a couple of purple examples that Marcy was embracing pretty enthusiastically.
Yeah, I love of course, the Valentino on the right, and green shorts. It just looks fantastic. And then the woman on the left, do you know who that's from? What collection?
I think that was Gucci, actually.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that was
That makes
Gucci.
sense. So she has on a great, what did I call that? Shrug. Purple shrug.
Yes, which class would you wear that to, Marcy? Is that a home economics class you're in, or are you just monitoring maybe it's an art history class?
20th century novels.
Excellent. Other thing, in addition to jewel tones every season, that I always heard about as a go-to staple was, of course, animal prints, and of course the leopard print. And Marcy, you're saying that animal print really has evolved into a year-round phenomenon and day and night as well.
Mhm. I mean, it used to be it would come around and be in style every 3 years, but now it's just something that is a classic and staple, and you can wear it anytime.
Well, we've also seen that in home decor. We have a couple people at Fashion Coffee Hour in the evening who are interior design people, and it's also become a very staple for interior design as well. The last character we're looking at in our Fashion and Back to School story is the Educating Rita film, which is also based on a stage play. And this is really a fun character. This lady, she starts off as kind of a working class person, and she was an entirely sympathetic and attractive, appealing character. And she simply just evolves and transforms through the story. And part of that is her personal appearance. She goes from kind of a bleach blonde, I don't want to say tardish is too strong of a word, but
It's her accent, the way she speaks.
well, but she evolves, and it's a charming story of how she evolves. And I just threw that in here at the end to take a quick look at this scene where she's been invited to a party, a gathering, which is a little bit outside of her class, and she's a little nervous about what to wear to the gathering. There's this really fun scene, which I think everybody can relate to, about not being quite sure or comfortable what to choose to wear to the party.
I was at a house once where they served chocolate mints with their coffee.
I love the double
My
mirror.
husband. Oh, he's an electrician, you know. There's a marvelous Chinese takeaway just at the end of our street, you know.
She's dejected.
Have you seen Macbeth by William Shakespeare?
I think she basically just gives up at the end, which is kind of unfortunate because nobody should give up. But she gives up in choosing what to wear that night, but she does not give up as a character in her own transformation, and she ends pretty well. And that was a fun story of educating Rita. There's a bit in there about she and her professor sparring about the word assonance in relationship to poetry, the genre of poetry, and Rita gives Michael Caine character some pushback about the premise of that. And the idea, in the context of poetry, it's making poetry, making words rhyme that really do not rhyme. And Rita challenges him on that and says, well, that's just another word for getting the rhyme wrong. And that's something I guess we all do, whether we are intentional about it or not. But if you can make it work for you and it looks good, then you're going to get an A on that test. Marcy, any other thoughts about back to school fashion?
Well, I think this program you put together was really excellent for a lot of reasons. And one is that we did a little history lesson.
We did. They put us to work today, Marcy. We're not going to get a call from the principal. I don't know if we're going to get an A, but maybe a B+ today. But it is only back to school, and we're just now getting started in this semester. So we want to invite everyone to come back on Monday evenings, as always, to join us for another episode of Fashion Coffee Hour. Thank you so much. See you later.